Your child says, "Help me," so you help. And somehow, within about 4 seconds, you have made everything worse. You offer an idea, wrong idea. You move closer, too close. You give them space. Now you're abandoning them. You're 3 for 3, and you are trying to be nice. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you give your child exactly the help they asked for, and then they reject the help or yell at you. It's confusing, confounding, and it's even more common than you think. If we haven't met yet, I'm Andrea Pollock, parenting educator and coach, and I work with parents of autistic and neurodivergent children. I'm also a parent of an autistic adult, so I've done this work professionally, and I've done it at 7 a.m. with my own child, refusing to put on socks. Before we get to what exactly to do, it's worth spending a minute on why it happens, because it will help you implement the solution. Your child asks for the help and you offer it, and your child says no, or not like that, and gets even more frustrated. It can feel confusing because you did exactly what they asked for. The first step in understanding the dynamic is to look more closely at the ask. You gave them exactly what they said they wanted, and that may be true on its face, but sometimes the underlying need is slightly different from what they stated out loud. And until we perfect our mind reading skills, we're going to have to work with our best assessment of the situation. Here's why the disconnect between what they ask for and what they need is happening. Let's use an example. Let's say your child is trying to zipper their coat and it's getting stuck. As they start to become frustrated and dysregulated, they ask for your help. When you put your hands on the coat, they yell, "Stop! Not like that!" What they may be frustrated about is the fact that they want to do it independently and are getting stuck. And you helping means they're not doing it independently. See the problem? A similar situation could arise with homework. Your child is trying to do math homework and can't get the answer. So they ask you for help, and putting to one side the fact that math changes every generation and you probably won't do it right, you step in to try. They explode. Why? Because now you're making the homework last longer. And what they're really communicating is less that they want to complete the homework properly and more that they just want to be done. And you stepping in makes it feel like it's taking longer. And here's the hard lesson. Help me doesn't always mean take over and fix it. Sometimes it means stay close. Sometimes it means make this smaller or give me somewhere to start. Sometimes it means I need connection to regulate. And sometimes it means I don't even know what I need or want. Here's the first thing to listen for. Sometimes they're asking for your presence, not your problem solving. You hear, "Help me," and your brain goes straight to intake mode. Me too. What happened? What do you need? And then, and I say this with love and personal experience, it goes to, "Have you tried every single thing I'm about to suggest?" Those questions might be useful later as part of a reflection and discussion about what to do next time, but in the middle of dysregulation, each one lands like another task. The child may not have the language or the flexibility right then to explain anything. They just know something's wrong and it feels unbearable. And this is often exactly the moment we talked about, where the thing they named isn't the real thing. They asked for help with the zipper, but what they might need is encouragement, a calm suggestion. And here's the really fun part. Sometimes they do want you to just do the darn zipper. The answer to this is to make help quieter while you read the room. It might be just your presence or gentle help with a small next step. I learned this the hard way, coming in hot like a superhero to attack the problem every time. That gives your child time to figure out more clearly what they do want or need, and you time to feel into that. You don't have to read their mind perfectly. You're just trying to shrink how much they have to manage while keeping yourself available. The second thing that might be happening is that for a lot of our kids, help can feel like a threat. There's real brain science under this. A Yale neuroscientist named Amy Arnstein found that what pushes the thinking part of the brain offline, the part that plans and stays flexible, isn't how big the stressor is, it's whether the person feels in control of it. Lose that sense of control, and part of you starts to shut down. We know that rigidity is a strong characteristic of autistic children, and we also know that they're extremely sensitive to the world around them. For those reasons, among others, they start out with a strong drive for control. So when they're struggling with the zipper and you reach in and take over, even though they asked, even though you're helping, you may have just removed the control that they were trying to retain. And that can register as a bigger threat than the stuck zipper ever was. That's why a kid will say, "I can't do this," and then fight you the second you try to do it for them. They didn't want the rescue, they wanted help to succeed. So you can offer encouragement. Want me to stand nearby? You could ask, should I show you, or do you just want me to give you some hints? Do you want help just with the first part, or do you want me to stay here and help you until it's finished? That gentle support can be regulating. It also gets you out of that all or nothing trap, where the only two options are you do it completely alone, or step aside and let mom take over. That was my personal favorite. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is the smallest thing and lead them to the next step. You hold the paper and they write the first word. You open the container and they pour. You sit down beside them and they make the first move. Sometimes the smallest bit of support opens up what pushing never could, and it does it without taking away the task. Quick favor, if this pattern lives in your house, I'd love to hear your version of it in the comments. Does your child ask for help with a task, decision, or feeling, and then reject the help the moment it shows up? Drop one example in the comments if you can. It helps me, and it'll probably help the next parent who reads it and realizes they're not the only one refereeing the situation. The third thing to watch for is sometimes your intention is fine and the delivery is the problem. Too many words, too many choices, a calm, reasonable explanation that's just extra, more than they can handle. If you're thinking, this sounds impossible, I feel you, but this isn't really about finding a secret code. It can start just as easily as just taking a moment to ask yourself, is there more to this? And if so, slow down. And another question might be, is this an emergency? And if yes, slow down. See where I'm going here? There's no fixed script for this. In addition to slowing down, here are a few more things you can do. First, cut your word count. A short line is easier to catch than a speech. Some phrases you might use, depending on the situation, of course. I'm here. Let's pause. Let's try the first part. If your child snaps at you, first, resist the urge to reprimand them in that moment. Dysregulation is already starting, and it's just going to go downhill really quickly. You can address it after the fact. Instead, gently name the tension without arguing about it. You want help, and you want to be in charge of how it happens. You want this fixed, but my ideas are too much right now. You're showing them that you get it, and they don't have to agree with you for it to work. Then offer one small way in. Not 10 choices, not open-ended, so what do you want to do? One or two real options. Do you want quiet help, or do you want me to talk to you? You might ask, do you want me to sit close or a little further away? You start, or do you want me to do the first bit? And here's where the real thing sometimes surfaces. You offer to fix the shoe, and they wave it off. And that's your information. The shoe was never the problem. If the help they ask for keeps missing the mark, it's worth quietly checking whether the actual ask is, help me stop feeling like this, which sounds a lot more like sitting close than solving anything. And if they turn all of it down, you don't have to negotiate. I'll be right here. We'll try one small step when your body's ready. The expectation stays on the table. They get time to get back to the skills that walked out during the hard moment. Now, if it's about safety or health or a boundary that has to hold, it holds. That part doesn't flex. What flexes is how you say it. I won't let you get hurt. I'm staying close while we figure out what helps. The appointment is still happening. Let's find the part that you get to control. You're holding the line and also letting them know that you understand their need for control and will do your best to help them with that. When the dust settles, it might be worth discussing, if your child is able to do that, making it clear that it's about understanding, not about reprimanding. That's when you might find out what would have helped. Maybe they wanted you nearby, but wanted zero questions. Maybe they wanted you to show them, not touch it. Or maybe they really had no idea what they needed. The discussion can help them understand themselves more clearly through the process. So when your child asks for help and then shoves it away, they're often telling you two true things at once. One, the problem I named isn't really the problem, and I need support. And possibly a quiet third message. Don't overwhelm me with solutions. Just keep those things in mind and the whole situation lightens up a bit. You don't have to fix it all in one shot. They don't have to carry it all alone. The help can just be smaller, quieter, and a lot more precise. And slowly, they get better at asking for the kind of help that they actually want. If this gave you a new way of looking at the support struggle, consider subscribing, give the video a like, which really helps me reach more parents. And I'll see you in the next one.